Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, guys. Myself and Ibra again. And we're back again with an exciting episode. It's our 11th episode, which means we're getting better at it, bringing more interesting stories and a more interesting flow to the conversation as well. And today we have an interesting one around social commentary. In the past few weeks, there have been some exciting topics being discussed in the entire social media space. And one of the biggest ones from one of the biggest stars out there is the entire situation with Tyrese. I'm sure some of us knows this man, Tyrese Gibson, from Fast and Furious. If you don't know him from Baby Boy, you remember Baby Boy, yeah?
Yeah.
You remember the movie with, I think that was with Taraji, right? I'll give you the breakdown, Ibrahim. I have an interesting question for you. I'm really curious as to seeing what you think about this story, because I know that you haven't followed the story that much. And just let me give you the breakdown, yeah? Are you ready?
Yeah, give it to me.
Yeah? Okay, cool. So, in 2020, so I'm going a little bit far back now. In 2020, Tyrese had a divorce with his wife at the time. Back then, Tyrese was completely shattered. I think it was on social media crying, and basically what was putting him in tears was that he was completely blindsided by that divorce. At that time, they had a 1-year-old, they had a baby. I don't know exactly the age of that baby, but at that time they had a baby. Even though this lady, when she came into Tyrese's life, she told him, I'm not here for your money, I don't care about all those fancy stuff, I'm an easygoing person. When they divorced, she took Tyrese to court, not with one lawyer, but with 2 different law firms, to seek for child support. And when they finished that case, she got $20,000 a month in child support.
Wow.
$20,000 a month. That
how old is the baby?
Support. It was like a 1-year-old or maybe even less than that. Like a proper baby.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. $20,000 a month. And this was what Tyrese was going crazy about. Fast forward to 2023, last year, Samantha came on the internet. At this time, she had a YouTube page or something as well. She came on the internet and she said that she actually regretted divorcing Tyrese, that the way it played out back then was due to external influences from friends and the lawyers and all that stuff, that she regrets it. Fast forward to 2024, this year, Tyrese is having a freaking great year. I don't know if you know, but there's the album that came out. There's also the movie 1992, the crime thriller. Tyrese is killing it.
I think he's on the media tour right now also. Yeah.
He's on a media tour. He was on Club Shay Shay. He was on some other podcasts as well. He's killing it at the moment.
Yeah.
To my big surprise, I think last week, Tyrese posted on the internet now that Samantha again, by the way, Tyrese is now with another woman, so they're not getting together or anything, but Samantha comes back again with our lawyers, and they're now asking Tyrese to present his financial statement and tax returns, because they have a feeling that he's now making, even more money, and 20K can become 40K. Yeah. So now they're asking Tyrese for $40,000 per month in child support. Tyrese still believes in the institution of marriage. He still believes in the idea of love. So from what I've heard from him, he has not allowed this entire dramatic situation to influence his perspective on marriage and love. Samantha makes a shitload of money as well. According to Tyrese, she's making about $150,000 a month. But the law court still makes Tyrese pay $20,000 in a month in child support. The second thing is, Tyrese mentioned that 50 Cent told him to be careful about marriage in the first instance. Right? And when that thing happened, with all this lovey-dovey stuff, when it happened to him, it was almost like an I told you so moment from 50 Cent. So now, keeping that in mind, first of all, what do you think about the whole situation?
Yeah, I feel sorry and bad for him, because I feel like, as a man, you can never 100% guarantee anyone's intention, at least a woman's intention towards you. Yeah, for him to have to pay $20,000 is that's already a lot.
It's a crazy number. And now she's
Yeah.
asking for 40.
Now you're asking for 40, and I'm like, why did she make the video to start with? That means she's not remorseful at all? Like, and she probably has all these things planned out from the very get-go, or like at least like just rolling it out in batches, right? Like, oh, he's doing better now. Yeah, let's see what we can get now.
Exactly. Yeah, it seems like she has a structure to her madness. Let me put it this way. It seems like she has a structure to her madness. She knows exactly what she wants. In fact, what she does on social media now, it's not just social media content, but she's also a personal coach to people. So I can imagine what type of stuff she's coaching people on. I can only guess, but that's interesting. But now knowing that, someone can be so convincing with regards to their intention towards you, but it could also be that they have this master plan in mind to fuck your shit up. What's your take on marriage as an institution in general?
My take on marriage would be that maybe it's not really supposed to be the way that we are practicing it, or at least the status quo right now. I still feel like men are not supposed to be monogamous. I mean, we try to be civilized about it and try to be like, oh, you can be with one woman or whatever. I feel like this is another indication that when that happens, this could be one potential result that it could lead to, right? So in that light, I would definitely feel like we don't really need to have all these court situations, or like the legal system in our businesses when it comes to being in a marriage with someone, right? Because I feel like it doesn't just, from an incentive point of things, right? There isn't a lot of incentive, if any at all, for men to still get married in 2024, and a lot of men are catching up to this, and they don't want to do this anymore. I was telling you about the statistics like that say something around like in the year 2030, like probably 52% of women in the US between the age of 29 to like 45 or something like that will be single. That's one indication to also show you that men just don't want to do this anymore, and they don't see a lot of advantages in it, or at least reasons for them to want to go into that, because it seems like a sort of punishment system when it comes to the law, like, to get at you or something.
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying. That the law somehow at the moment incentivizes women to get married and get out of it. And for men, there's absolutely no reason that you want to get married, because you won't be able to trust the intention of anyone. Yeah, you can make your decisions based on their behavior, but it's very clear that, like what has happened with Tyrese, that people can blow hot and cold. I mean, this lady literally still showed us our true nature by making that video in 2023 and coming back in 24 again to demand more money, even though she's already getting too much money. I understand the idea of, let's make sure that the women are protected and compensated, because they might have had to make sacrifices as well to keep the home together while being married, and the man continues to forge forward. So I understand that there's the need for that as well. However, I also think that there's the need to now get creative around that to ensure that it does not incentivize the wrong behavior. The parliament in Kenya, last week as well, have decided that if you divorce your husband in Kenya, you're not getting shit.
I saw that. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's definitely something, It's like, yeah, people will definitely think twice before making a decision. You are not, there isn't necessarily any sort of financial incentive for you to make such decision. So if you still want to go ahead and do that, then that means there has to be something there that you really need to leave, which makes sense. Yeah.
Exactly. And the funny thing is that it was unanimous. The vote for that law to be repealed was unanimous, and I'm assuming that there are also women in the parliament.
Exactly.
When I saw it on Instagram, I saw the comment section. A lot of women were in support of that, because I think within their circles as well, they're starting to see that people actually have the incentive to not forge forward in a marriage at the slightest hint of an issue. They would say, well, if I get out now, I can go on to be independent, but dependent.
Yeah, yeah.
Independent but dependent.
Yeah, like we discussed something about the difference between someone whose worst case scenario is a little bit better than another person whose worst case scenario is like, if things don't work out, if I can't achieve my goals, this is what's going to happen to me. When that situation looks really terrible, your actions already then also changes. So extending that to like marriages and divorce and what's it called now, like having all this financial incentive, you cannot, I feel like people don't, they underestimate how that influences their decision directly or indirectly. But I feel like as a woman, you might not even know that somewhere at the back of your head, this idea is there that, oh yeah, I mean, there's something to benefit because we have this little misunderstanding, but I don't want to do this anymore. It's already kind of directs your mindset towards a direction, right? Whereas if it wasn't there, you would be much more of the mindset, I believe, that, oh, this is not going well. We have to sit down, discuss this, and try to fix it for as many times as we have to. Because people would argue like, yeah, we try to solve it, but if that's the only thing that, we just have to keep working on this, keep fixing this is a life thing, then I think, yeah, it would already make a lot of difference.
100%, I'm with you. And of course, there are extreme scenarios where a divorce is necessary. I think in our last episode as well, we talked about a scenario where you absolutely want a divorce, because that story about someone in the church, the youth pastor, and in that case, we both agreed that maybe a divorce would be reasonable. So there are definitely scenarios where divorces are still necessary. If a husband is violent or abusive towards their wife, I think sometimes you need to, in fact, every single time you need to leave that situation. Now, thinking about what they have done in Kenya, the initial thing incentivized women to drop out of marriages. But now that there is no protection for a woman anymore, and maybe their head has now been rewired to want to stay in marriages more often, how do you think that influences the behavior of the men? Do you actually see that as a fair legal arrangement, or is there a need to be more creative around it?
To be honest, I would argue that wouldn't be the best solution to the problem, because I feel like the reason why we ended up in this situation is, for sure, like over the years or like in the past, right? Like women have suffered a lot of things that they were not really protected or like at least supported when they needed that. But now it's not fair anymore, at least from how I see it, right? So in Kenya, I believe definitely, yeah, there might be a need for some sort of action that is different, not just absolute in this way. Because definitely, I have to also say that I'm not against like prenup, like what's it called now? What's this money, that alimony and stuff like that, right? Like, when it's deserved, you should get it, but it's not like set on stones.
But how do you define deserved?
Okay, for me, I would say from the moment we met and how we have sort of strategized to make things work for us. If you really break it down, even in the court of law, you can already directly see a correlation. Like, let me give you an example. Okay, I'm a single guy. I just finished school, like my bachelor's or whatever. I'm trying to get on my feet. Then she's also just finishing bachelor's. We are just trying to navigate the whole corporate world and stuff. Then she got a job before me. She started paying for stuff. Then I got a better job, or at least I got also a job. We sort of navigate things in a supportive direction like that. In all these beats, you can already see what she sacrificed. In Tyrese's case, for example, now let's go back to that. This guy was made. This guy was doing fine.
That's why the payment is not alimony.
So that's like the child support, right? But yeah, even with the child support, then how much does the 1-year-old need to survive?
Yeah, from my perspective, 100%. I think it would be very difficult to define who deserves what or not.
Yeah.
So I'm not against the idea of if you get married to someone, you are at the risk of needing to take care of them if you make more, to make sure that when you separate, their lifestyle is not taking a complete nosedive.
Yeah.
Which means the richer person still supports to man, so that it's not a complete deep dive, so that now she's no longer married and she can't walk anymore because there are no shoes for her to wear. Exactly. Yeah. The calculation of what is reasonable child support, I think it's tying it simply to how much the richest person earns makes no sense, because it incentivizes people to retire on someone else. Like, I cheat, I divorce, and I'm retiring. Of course, there are different laws in different countries and different states in, like, for example, even within the countries. But imagine I'm a woman, I cheat on my husband, and somehow I'm still requesting for a divorce even after cheating on my husband because I like the guy that I'm cheating with. And I still go for child support. And they just simply look at how much my husband earns and decides that that's how much I have to pay in child support. I think it's not a reasonable way to do it.
Yeah.
I believe that they should be able to find a different way to calculate what is a reasonable child support. Yeah. For example, how much is a school close by to you? How much is the average cost of education, near your neighborhood? Plus, on top of that, what's the average cost of groceries for a child? What's this and that? So it shouldn't matter if I make 10 billion or if I make 100K. The only scenario where it matters is if I really can't afford it, we have to then cut it according to the size that the person can afford, because you won't force people to go into debt or steal, because they would have figured it out anyways if the divorce did not happen. But for people that have money, you can then use the average. Maybe you don't use the minimum requirement. You can use the average within the neighborhoods that they live or within. But to just abstractly ask for unreasonable amount of money, I think that's where the problem is from my perspective. Yeah. Because as you mentioned, you're also not against alimony, which means that in a divorce, you mentioned prenup a little bit as well. The idea of a prenup is just, let's set up mechanisms that are reasonable, mechanisms that are fair for each of us, for the both of us now, such that when there's a divorce, it's not a zero-sum game all out. I need 50% of all the wealth he's making. I think that's absolutely stupid.
Yeah. That's why I say it's sort of like a punishment, like system, because there's no other explanation to it. It's like, it feels like you're punishing me for getting into a marriage, right? We shouldn't be. And to also add to your point, I feel like most men are not necessarily cruel. We should also understand that you decided at one point in your life to be with this woman, and for whatever reason it didn't work out, right? I would assume that a good human citizen man would not want to see someone he has shared life and everything with to suffer. So if that is the case, then it's a question of the person you are with, not the gender situation. Because I feel like it's just like this whole absolute reaction in making these decisions. It's like, men always have to feel the loss.
I think in most cases, men feel the loss.
Yeah.
But it's also because in most cases, men are the richer ones in the relationships. So if you happen to be a man that is with a woman that is richer than you, you get the benefit in that instance. The one thing that is just different is that men do not fight for the absolute benefit in the way women do. And I've spoken to a lot of women. I would love to still hear their perspective, that when things go to shit in a marriage, women tend to be vengeful. They tend to hold much more resentment than men. So even when a man is not feeling good about it, they would be like, all right, let's just get it done. Let's move on.
Exactly.
The woman, on the other hand, everything must burn.
Yeah.
I don't want to generalize, but I think deep down, women, when you think about it inside of you, I'm pretty sure you know what I'm saying. Like, there is that split moment of, we are splitting, I will fuck this guy up.
And God forbid you were not the reason why things are ending. Like, for example, you cheated or something, then you are done for. You are really.
Oh my goodness! If you are the one that led to, if you are the if you're the one that led to the cause
Yeah.
of a divorce. You're fucked as a man.
Yeah.
And if a woman would cheat on a man and the man would still be like, yeah, take the house, it's fine, I don't care, I'll move forward.
Yeah.
Right? And I think maybe that's the point that you were trying to make when you said that you don't see any reasonable man not still being careful about how he treats that person that he chose to spend the rest of his life with initially.
Yeah.
So usually we have that little bit of there's fairness required in the dealing even when the split is happening.
Exactly.
A woman, they just want it to be a zero-sum game. I will win every single shit.
Yeah. It's almost like, I'm coming for you. You should be ready.
I'll take his money and destroy his life as well.
Yeah.
But anyways, generally, knowing what is out there,
Yeah.
what would you say to people that are looking to get married? What are the things that they should have in place? How should they think about it? How should they select who they marry? And how should they deal within a marriage? From your perspective.
From the way I see things, right, I feel like the number one thing that I would tell anyone that wants to get into a marriage institution is to vet a woman you want to potentially spend the rest of your life with. It's not about the love, it's not about the how I'm feeling, it's not about the values that we share and stuff. What I want to see is this person really on my side, on my team, even on a worst day? And it's similar to what we said, that most men still want everything to be fine with the person that they are now ending things with, even though it didn't go according to plan. So,
but how will you see that before?
You can't really tell.
How will you be able to see who is on your side?
Yeah, you can't really tell. But I think I'm a very good judge of that. At least I'm quite confident in that. You might not be the one that have loved me or that has loved me the most or have been quite like what I needed. But I think I can tell by dealing with someone long enough to be able to see when the intentions are not genuine. I think how I measure that, if you ask me, that okay, you did ask, would be, I feel like you can sort of tell. The only time I feel like I can't be sure about that is if I'm the one who messed things up. Let's say I cheated, she caught me and everything, then she has the right to be vengeful. But I feel like if it's just some other irreconcilable differences, I believe, that I should be able to see that. No.
Tyrese couldn't say it. And I'm telling you this. And I know that for me, before you go further with what people need to know, I want to make a comment on this intention thing. I strongly believe that you cannot tell what the intention of a woman is, because they are the greatest pretender on earth. Like of every creature that was created, women are the number one pretender.
I agree with you.
Because they pretend without even knowing that they are pretending.
Yeah.
So when they are in those moments as well, they might have like an inkling of doubt inside them about something, but they are delusional enough to fully assume a different character that's what you see. So I think if you focus on intention, I don't think you'll be able to know anything for sure.
It's more on the side of knowing that person outside of your relationship, based on their core values, based on how they deal with other things that doesn't include you. When you put all these data points together, you can tell the kind of person you are with. Like, oh, when she's mad, she breaks things. When she's angry, she does this. She can let things go. If that makes sense. That's the perspective that I'm trying to come from.
Now I get what you're saying. So for me, I think maybe that we're similar in the sense of I'll focus a lot on how she treats me. Like the behavior is what matters most to me. And I know that this behavior won't give me 100% certainty, but at least it will give me confidence that when I made that decision, I made it on the basis of the right behavioral characteristics that I saw. Right? Because I am of the opinion that you will never be 100% certain when you make that selection. But when you make that selection, you have to make it on the basis of this person fit the type of behaviors and characteristics that I would like to see in a wife and in a mother. When things change in the future I feel like there are other things that you need to put in place to be able to accommodate those changes. And when I say accommodate, it doesn't mean, you know, just taking everything in and suffering or whatever, but for you as a person by yourself to be able to adjust. So if you're always with the mindset that, well, you can't get a 100% guarantee, it means that everyone is incentivized to behave accordingly in every single moment, because we are always proving to each other that we're in each other's corner.
Exactly.
I hate the idea that someone tells me you should trust that I'm in your corner when I don't see it in their behavior.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to say I will never trust that you're in my corner. But with every single engagement, we are
you have to show
forced now to show it to each other. And I'm not saying this is one way, both ways. That's how I see the selection process.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because, I mean, women are also known for saying different things and also acting different things, right? It's like you say these things, but you are not really acting it. So your actions to me means everything, not what you really say. I think you also have to talk about the difficult, to have the difficult discussions that most people are avoiding. And in 2024, the biggest topic will still be like the prenup discussion. I feel like you definitely need to have the discussion before, hopefully, when you might need it. Hopefully you don't need it, but you have to talk about that. Another thing I would say is quite necessary is also the finances. I think people also don't talk about that enough. You have to sort of align on how the finances of the household is going to work. If you guys want to have like a joint account or not, or these, so you sort of have to align on that. I've read online marriages that crash because of differences in the perception of money between the couples, right? It's like, I'm quite conservative. I don't like to spend everything I have. And my partner is like, she's just spending everything on anything.
So living the life, which is not a bad thing as well. Yeah, it's
exactly. It's just
right?
a misalignment. You have to just align on what your goals are and the kind of family you want to have, right? So one other thing would be the family you are getting into. I think you have to also, I think people underestimate that. For me, I don't think I would or I will, because I feel like if you're marrying someone, you are also marrying into the family, right? So you should really consider this kind of structure, the kind of home or family structure she's coming out from, because it will say a lot. It has already built a lot of systems that she didn't even know, and not just her, like in all of us, right? The family we come from dictates a lot of our behavior also, and what we perceive to be normal, what is not normal.
The family bit is big as well, because when people look upwards within their family, there are only two possibilities. One, the possibility that you look up and you're like, I absolutely don't want to be like them, or you become exactly what they are. Most times what happens is that you become exactly what they are, and the people that are able to break the chain and become something else, they're more few than many. And I agree with the financial conversation. This is absolutely important. One thing that I want to ask is, do you also see the necessity to discuss the roles of the couple in the household?
I mean, I would even use the word leadership, because I feel like without that, things will just fall into chaos. Things will fall apart. And I would use semantics even now, right? So we call a marriage an institution for some reason. And for every institution, there has to be hierarchy. If that doesn't exist, there will be chaos. Then there will be power struggle. There will be friction. But that doesn't also mean that you can't deliberate on things. Yeah, for sure. If there are things that I believe, like, okay, this is something that I will come to you to be like, oh, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? But I would like to still know that I'm responsible for the final decision, sort of, as the man. Yeah, and I think that's the problematic part that a lot of women have dealt with, can't really fathom or like wrap their head around.
You believe that men should be the one with the leadership authority within a household. Is this cultural to you, or is this absolute for human race?
I would argue that it's absolute for human race, but we've somehow convinced ourselves that it's not, especially in the West. And yes, it's also cultural for me. And I believe my culture just have sticked with what has worked for thousands of years, or at least for a longer period of
For
time.
them, at least.
Exactly. Like in the West, for example, as an example of a civilized society, right? It's like what I've seen is a lot of men being silenced. And I think what we are seeing now is a lot of men not giving a fuck anymore, or just not wanting to do it anymore.
I'll tell you something interesting. I've also seen men that are fully happy to renege that responsibility to their women. Absolutely, I've seen men that are completely fine with playing a different role in the household. And in my own perspective, I would always imagine that that's why you need to have the conversation before, because it's again a question of alignment and not an absolute, this is how it will always go. There's a lot within marriages that it has to be unique to the couples as opposed to final. But I know between the two of us, the genders are so similar within and so different between each other that there are some generalizations that can be made. Like, men are so dissimilar within the group of men and so different from women, and women are so similar within the group of women, that you can almost group that gender as men, women. Let's generalize certain interactions or certain engagements and how it should be set up. But still, the world has become much more multifaceted, that there are actually men now that are happy with a different type of lifestyles.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, majority, I'm with you.
I mean, I feel like a lot of that is also, from my perspective, I feel like it's a lot of conditioning happening, a lot of women taking up a lot of masculine roles in the society. I'm not against that. I just feel like, especially if you are using the context of the West, right, or the case study of the Western society, then you already see that they are in such a privileged state where they can have that. If everyone falls back to the baseline of survival, when we rip ourselves off this whole civilization, this whole, now we have houses, we can store food for 3 winters and stuff, gender role becomes huge again. So that's what I mean by, like, we sort of advance from that. But by default, yes, that's who we are. Because if we go back to living and like to the era of hunting and gathering, what is going to happen? Women are going to stay back home, men are...
But yeah, we're not going to do that. But I also imagine that there were women back in that time as well that wanted to be the hunters. You know, we had like strong women in the Yoruba culture that pushed the boundary of what fighting war meant. And however, it's not the majority.
Exactly.
That's exactly the point. That even though we will have outliers, we can still almost generalize because we are so the same within our gender group and so different between each other.
No civilization can be built with women's manpower. That's why it's called manpower. We won't say women's power.
Yeah, I mean, but we absolutely need each other as well, right? Do you think that everyone going into a marriage should have it at the back of their mind that a divorce is a possibility?
Yes, and that's also one big topic with women, because they have this statement like, oh, you are preparing for failure or whatever. No, I'm not preparing for a failure. I'm preparing for all possible outcomes. It surprises me that with every other thing, men, women, we all plan things the most efficient way possible. But for some reason, when it comes to marriage, it's like, yeah, when you do that, you are weird, it is creepy, or it's like, oh, it's a red flag. But when you are planning a career, what are your plans? You'll be like, oh, I have to go to a school to get a degree and this and this and this. You have to sort of see marriage like that. So it's like, oh, what are the possible outcomes? What are the possible challenges you could have? And make plans for that. It's not because you are planning to head towards that. But yeah, you sort of have to put that into an account because it is a possibility. And in 2024, it's a big possibility because we have the stats to show us that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think statistically, it would be foolish to think it wouldn't be a possibility. And my argument is usually that to prepare for a divorce, you need a prenup. You should make a prenup when you love each other so much that you will only put things that are fair for the both of you in there. So that if there is a possibility, if in the future something happens, there's a huge misalignment and you have to split, you are not going to have to start discussing how to fuck each other's life up.
100%.
But that's how I say it. Yeah.
Let me throw back the same question to you. Actually, this is a previous question, by the way, about asking what you think about the marriage institution. What's your projection of marriage, of the marriage institution? Yeah, like 10 years to come in 2034, 35.
And ceteris paribus, right? All things being equal, nothing changing from today, really just moving forward, and we're not making any drastic change. Just looking at how it is today, I think there will be less married people in the future. Not less people getting married, but so many divorces that will have less people staying married. There are too many beautiful things about the ceremony itself of getting married, that they going to a very nice place to propose, picking a very lovely garden for your marriage. I've seen that it's so beautiful that you get to a particular age in life and you want that yourself, even for men. Like you might not act like, but it's like when you attend weddings, like there's this feeling of I want this for myself as well. But that's just the ceremony bit. The fact that we are struggling to stay together as couples because of different incentives and the different direction that society is going, I feel like what will happen is less people will stay in marriages if things don't change, but maybe just as many people are still getting married. So if we judge it by the number of people that get married at the institution itself, all the money that comes with wedding and stuff, it would remain as successful as it has been. But judging by the amount of people that stay married, I think it would have failed in the next 20 years.
Looking at how things are right now with the red pill and blue pill community, right? Like you can already see the projection or like the progression of things, how there is this new set of people saying, oh, we have to fix this, we have to fix that. Like it's also similar to like this discussion we're having, right? Do you think there is a breaking point to where everything sort of just resets? Because I believe there is a subtle gender war going on right now. At least that's how I see it. Like men feels like women are the problem and vice versa, right?
I believe that men and women, we love each other too much. Like all this gender war that is going on, we're just joking around. Women will continue in the direction of choosing a bear over men. And some men will continue to go in the direction of it's not attractive for me to be with a woman because all she wants is my money. And everyone will end up in a lonely spot and we will run faster than we ran away from each other to each other again. For that to happen, a lot of things will have to change, but that change will start from each and every one of us within our small, bubble. Couple relationship. Whatever the subtle or not so subtle gender war that is going on, it would go on. We'll push it. We'll get to the extreme where the loneliness will magnet us together as if we'd never gone apart. And we're getting close to that point.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's exactly how I see it also. Yeah. I think the driving force then would be, at least the most important driving force would be the loneliness.
That's what will happen. So for me, from that perspective, I'm a little bit more hopeful about the future. I'm almost looking at what's playing out now and I'm like, let it run its course. It's fine. You will learn. We'll all learn. Hopefully not the hard way.
I mean, we learn either ways, man. Either the hard way or the easy way.
I said hopefully. If it's the hard way as well, all well and good.
I feel like there's this sort of obsession for humans, for all of us to have kids. So my question to you is, do you think that is true? One, and why do you think, if that is true, because I believe that is true.
I think majority of humans want to have kids. I want to have kids as well. And I think the reasons that I want to have kids for myself, because I want to have a progeny or multiple progenies. I think I want to build a community that is filled with my genes and my wife's gene, of course. Like I've told you this
little
before.
Maliks everywhere.
You understand? Like and Malikas or whatever. But like I want that. And the reason that I want that, I can't even tell you of course it helps me with dealing with society, because if I can build a community of family, this is the strongest community. So society influences my need for that, because family will have each other's back whether we like it or not. The second thing is that I think just as the human race is wired to try to survive and continue, there's something in our brain that just tells us that you need to do that.
I swear.
So this is simple biology, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Simple biology for your survival as a race, this is your responsibility. And that's why we feel like we need to do it. Of course, not everyone will be able to do it, and that's fine as well. Then there's also now the other condition of society. And I add society, this includes your family, your parents. They want grandkids as well. They want, so somehow you feel like that's also something you have to do. And it's that we have kids because, one, external responsibilities. I think when you look at it from the responsibility angle, it's not a responsibility that you want to happily choose. And I'll say this, I have a story. I have a colleague at work that I spoke to, and he said is married. They decided that they won't have kids. And I told him point blank, I envy you, because you are one of the few people that have arrived at the decision and the conclusion that you won't have kids. Not because you can't, not because you just thought about it, and you and your partner have that alignment that you don't want kids. Which means for them, he doesn't need to worry about, I need a house with a garden in the suburbs. He and his wife, they can always buy penthouses. They don't have to wonder, do we need a 3-bedroom? No. A 2-bedroom will always be enough for them.
They can go on vacation.
Always buy penthouses.
Yeah.
They can always travel anywhere. They can always pack up their bags, move anywhere. Yeah. They don't have to ever think about the kids' education. They don't, like, all the money they make, it's completely for them. Which also means that they can even afford to not save a penny in their life. They can always spend all their salaries and live on pension at the end, because it's just them. It's just the food that they will eat. It's just the place that they will sleep.
The idea of that sounds beautiful, right? I've seen people with kids. I also want to have kids, right? But I just feel like in this day and age, it's much more challenging than how it used to be raising kids, right? And with everything you just explained, it sounds interesting. It sounds like beautifully perfect,
bro.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, do you think that sort of idea changes over time? Do you think if you make that sort of decision, you could look back and feel like, I could have done it differently?
Maybe, but it's the same with the decision of having kids. I would argue that you can then decide to have kids, and then the kids are fucking riffraff. They don't make it seem like it was worth your while to have them. And then 20 years down the line, you're like, fuck, if I didn't have this fuck that. I'm just making it extreme. So I don't think there's any decision that you potentially can't look back in disgust and feel like I should have made a different choice. And I think the only thing that needs to happen is that in the moment that you make your decisions, you should make sure that you have collected as much information that you can collect in that moment, and make sure that in the future you can tell yourself, I made the best decision for what I knew at that time. Yeah. So fuck it.
Yeah. Funny thing, I had a discussion with a friend. He's in the UK now. We're catching up on things, and he's like, bro, how far? When we go see your wife? Like, when I get married, they say, are you still of this mindset that you want to get this amount of money or be this successful? And he was saying all that, and I'm like, of course, because I feel responsible. Getting married is not the most difficult thing.
The biggest issue.
Exactly. It's like you can't just bring kids into this world. What is our obsession with this that we don't really think about it that much? And his response was, you got to figure them out, man. And I'm like, how?
Well, you can prepare before, just wing it. And this is my
But a lot
problem
of people
sometimes.
are
I think that's what
winging
you're
it.
talking about. With man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, people will give you the advice to wing it, even when you stand on your ground of, no, I want to prepare before. I know that
Yeah.
there's preparation that I can make. There's preparation that I know that if I make, it would definitely make that life a little bit easier. I'm
Yeah.
not doing it without that preparation done.
Yeah.
But people
But
will
that,
say
that
you're
seems
silly,
to be irrational or being stupid.
unrealistic
Unreal.
to a lot of
Exactly.
people.
Yeah. What do you think, or at least from your perspective, what would be the most important values that you would like to impact on your children?
As a father, the most important thing that I think I can give my kids is understanding that actions have consequences. And that means that they should think about their actions in depth before acting. And I won't be the one to protect them too much from the consequences of the actions that they make. Because I think that's the biggest value that I can add to kids. And I think that's also when I look at kids nowadays, so young people that are not all right in the head, I simply feel like, are you not? Yeah, I have to say it that way. And when I see them, the single truth is, I'm just thinking, don't you think about the consequences of your actions? Like, when you make a decision, don't you think a little bit further into the future and think, what does that mean as a consequence?
Yeah.
Because it feels like people just do shit without thinking about the consequence. And I think if you always think about the consequence of your action, it doesn't mean that you will always make the right action, that do the good things, or always make the right decision. But it at least means that you will be able to deal better with the consequence that you have expected a little bit, which means that even the negative actions don't completely ruin your life out of nowhere. It maybe slows you down because you knew that shit, I fucked that up. It's like, let me give an example. Imagine this. You go to the club, you don't sleep. On a Wednesday night, you have work on Thursday. If you go to the club without thinking that, fuck, I'll wake up tomorrow morning feeling shit, tomorrow will be fucking hectic. You probably don't even wake up for work. But if you accept that I'm making this stupid decision to go to the club on a Wednesday night, and I know that I'll be fucked up tomorrow. In fact, I might not wake up. You might not even sleep throughout. You go straight to the club, straight to work. You will deal with it. It will be fucked up, but you won't feel the same way as if you never thought that it would be fucked up tomorrow.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So it's not about always making the right choices now. It's just that you have to understand that whatever choice you make, there's a consequence. Prepare yourself for consequences every time you act.
Yeah.
Good or bad.
Yeah, that makes
I think that's the strongest value that I can add to my kids.
Not acting is acting. Not taking decisions is taking decisions. So when you also need to be aware of that.
Yep,
and
correct.
Yeah, account for that. Yeah. I have 5 statements, right, about marriage. And you have to sort of tell me if you agree or if you disagree. So then if you disagree, you have to tell me the reason why you disagree. So the first statement is, a successful marriage requires falling in love many times, always with the same person. Do you agree or disagree?
I would say yes.
So you agree. Cool.
But I think what makes you fall in love, I think I need to say this, that love is not blind. So yes, it requires that you continue to fall in love with that person because they continue to show you why they're in your corner.
Yeah.
Every single action deserves an opposite reaction, right? So you treat me well. Fuck, I love you. Yeah. You show me that you're for me. Oh, fucking hell, I love this girl. Yeah, so yes, you fall in love over and over again, but love is not blind. It's very clear why you should be falling in love. Then you're good.
I also agree, by the way. So, yeah. So to the next one, marriage is less about finding someone to live with and more about finding someone you can't live without. Do you agree or disagree?
100% disagree, man. Fuck that shit. like this is again. Yeah. I'm sorry, man. I think it's always about thinking this person as my wife, this person as my mother. But everyone knows that the truth is that that's fairy tale love that does not exist. to think that there's someone you cannot live without, which means that if something happens, you kill yourself. You're not doing that. Cut it off. No. You need to figure out who you can live with. No one is perfect, so you need to figure out the person you have the most alignment with. And that could be anybody, right? If they choose to reciprocate and find the alignments with you as well. So no, living without, kill yourself when you break up then. When you do that.
Yeah.
You know, it makes no sense. Please don't kill yourself. I'm just saying, like, it makes no sense, you know?
I definitely disagree also, because I feel like, why would you want to have someone that you cannot live without? How is that helpful to your
It's not, it
life?
doesn't make any sense. You're just being delusional. You're being silly. I'm sorry, like, that's...
In marriage, the best conversations often happen without words. Agree or disagree?
I'm in the middle on this one. At the beginning, you need a lot of words. Like, you need a lot of words to get the alignment. You need to communicate like crazy. Over time, the communication will be less because they should just know you. And that's communication as well. You know what I mean? Like, after 6 years of being together, they should just know that my man won't like this. My girl won't like this. But there should be enough alignment as well to talk less.
That makes sense. I feel like a lot of women also that I've dealt with also have this, you should already know just by watching or seeing. I'm not a mind reader, like how I'm feeling or how I'm doing.
Yeah.
No, that might also be, that would be a continuous verbal communication, I would say.
I think with humans, right? Like, we're not changing drastically that you need another 5 years of conversation again. At the beginning, you need to absolutely say everything. I agree with you that reading minds is completely useless, but I think you will be able to read minds 6 years down the line on things that you already know how they react to, you know?
Yeah.
But they expect you to read the mind 8 months in. Like, bitch, I don't know how you deal with this shit. Like,
yeah. Maybe not even reading the mind, just reading the mood. It's like, oh, when she's like this, she's probably sad, she's probably this. So the fourth one, every marriage has its challenges, but overcoming them together is what strengthens the relationship.
100% I agree. 100% I agree. I don't even have anything else to say. Yes.
How we go about that matters also. Like, I'll give you an example. If, okay, I'm in a heated argument with my partner, my wife, we could eventually figure out the situation, but how we go about it matters, because then we might feel like, oh, we resolved that. But I don't think...
But you have created a new disagreement. You have created a new disagreement. So for me, I think in any case, the engagement should always be respectful between partners. And do not say things you don't mean, which means that everything that comes out of your mouth, I will believe it. If a woman tells me that they feel like I'm worthless, I'm gone. It's ground for divorce for me. Because I would never forgive. I would never forget that. You know, I would imagine that she means that.
Yeah.
And which means that she would cheat on me, because if you see the partner you're with as worthless, there's no way this person is making you wet. I'm sorry.
A lot of women's argument would be that it was how I was feeling, and trust me, this is not just from my experience.
And that's the thing. That's why I'm saying you have to have an alignment with your partner that they say what they mean. So that, because they have to think about it multiple times. Do you mean it? Or this is just you blowing up? Because if you say it, I will assume you mean it. And I won't care because you said it.
Yeah.
At least that's how I would treat it. Yeah.
So the final one, respect in marriage is as crucial as love. Without it, the foundation wobbles. Agree or disagree?
Can I agree 10 times? Absolutely. Like, every single lengthy marriage, what they call love at that point is just this mutual respect. And that's why I also said that if a woman ever tells me, if my wife tells me you're worthless, it's ground for divorce. It sounds tiny, but it's like the ultimate disrespect. And if I equate respect and love as the same, especially for longer relationships, it means that she doesn't love me as well. She doesn't respect. It's just
bro, you'll be shocked. You'll be surprised how many men are dealing with this right now. This is like quite normalized in a lot of relationships and marriages. It's like, yeah, women have this idea of I can say whatever I like if I'm feeling negative, or I can do whatever I want.
Can
if
you
I'm
imagine a
feeling
man
negative.
telling his wife you're worthless? Wouldn't you feel like this is one of the most abusive relationships
That
ever?
happens too. But I've seen a lot of women.
Yeah, but that's clearly defined as the worst type of relationship. This is extremely abusive, you know. But yeah,
Yeah, so-
that was very nice. I actually like this nuance one like crazy. It's fucking nice.
Yeah, right.
Thanks, man. That was good.
yeah, I just
that
thought
was
about
good.
it like,
That was very
yeah,
nice.
like this would be fun. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, I mean, I think it was a very exciting episode.
Yep.
We've managed to put about 1 hour of crazy gems, and yeah, we'll see you again in the next episode, guys. Do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and join the conversation, guys. Join the conversation. We really want you to do that. Yeah. Peace out, guys. Cheers.
Ciao, ciao.
Ibra.
See you next time.
Bye bye.